This is DJ Hunter, and we're here doing an interview with Oakdale Drive. Would you guys like to introduce yourself?
August, I record all the stuff, and I play guitar and sing and write for Oakdale Drive.
I'm Vinny, and I am bass player and vocalist part-time, and I do some songwriting, and sometimes I do guitar in the studio.
Alright, cool. So, what kind of music do you guys like to play?
That's a complicated.
That's a very complicated question.
We were just having this conversation outside. I think a lot of bands have a sound, and Oakdale Drive, I described it as we kind of have like a scorched earth policy, which is like at the beginning of every new album recording session, we create a brand new sound. There's always going to be some things. There are certain aspects, really our influences, which we can get into it for a bit, to give a full answer. But that will always remain constant. But when we start a new era of Oakdale Drive, we try to find a new type of music to play. So I mean, we started with, what would you describe the first album as?
Yeah, we started. I would say psychedelic folk is a cool way to describe it, because we had this guy named Jaden who played a lot of Jimi Hendrix and Pink Floyd and stuff like that, and I was a bluegrass banjo player beforehand. But we sort of implemented the folk genre and then went into the rock. And we sort of kept the rock vibe going through all these years. But now I'd say we're a lot of blues influence, especially for me. We just recorded a new album in January, and pretty much most of the songs have a lot of blues elements to it. And but now we're experimenting with alternative rock and arena-style rock. So we try to experiment a lot of times. And our saxophone player is very into jazz, but he is also into blues. So we use elements of jazz and stuff like that in our recordings now and to come. So.
Cool.
A couple years ago, we were on an alternative rock / punk fusion era in our previous album.
Yeah.
And then the most recent album is really, it's incredibly varied.
Yeah, it's music for everybody. Every person has representation with their genres and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, what would you guys say your biggest musical inspiration? I guess you kind of went into it, but if you could I guess elaborate.
You want to go first? Yours
really
are more interesting.
Are mine more interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. Biggest musical inspiration. I think for now probably Bob Dylan. I mean, his lyricism and his ability to just make songs out of nothing and use elements of the folk genre from the 1800s and 1900s. The song we're going to do for the performance is based off a 1700s folk riff from a song called Blackjack Davy, and we implemented it and used lyrics from a song we recorded last summer and a different melody. So I think Bob Dylan is a huge influence. The Rolling Stones, the ability to just play off of each other in a live setting. I think the Grateful Dead are a huge influence on me. I love jam band music. I see the poster you got. It's pretty cool right there. Oh, snap.
Oh, how about that?
Got the Dead shirt. Nice.
That's kind of planned.
Pink Floyd, huge influence as well. Just the ability to play with musicians and collaborate and jamming, I think that's a big influence on me.
Nice. My answer is a little multifaceted, because my influences as a bass player and my influences as a songwriter are different. I think as a songwriter, I take after the music that I listen to the most, which is just a lot of hard rock and dipping a little bit into heavy metal territory. My gateway drug was Nirvana, and there's a poster of Kurt Cobain right there. My gateway drug was Nirvana, and then I got really big into Metallica very recently. My most recent obsession has been Chevelle. And then, but as a bass player, I try to look to, because I try to look to, I guess, more interesting places to come from as a rock bass player. So I listen to a lot of Motown. Jackson 5, Elvin Bishop, Aretha Franklin, and Beatles. I think a lot of 60s and 70s bass playing and rock and pop music is just very interesting, kind of like melodic lines. So yeah, that's it's kind of, I try to split where I come from on each front from a different direction, just to give everything sort of a mixed together feel.
Yeah, whole new kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool. So, where did you guys get started with your band?
Oh, that's him.
So, I started playing music during COVID. I took drum lessons when I was 10, but the guy never showed up. So I'd go to this music place, and I've never have a lesson. So I sort of never did that again. But I picked up a guitar during COVID, and I tried to play a really complicated song. It was a song called Drive by REM. And I got so frustrated that I couldn't play it that I just was like, oh, and I had to learn it to be good. You know, it was like a destiny sort of thing. So I just started playing guitar, and then I got bored with guitar, so I picked up banjo because I was really influenced by the Avett brothers and Scott Avett. He was a big banjo player. And then I just sort of tried to play everything badly. Piano, I've been experimenting with piano. But how we got started, pretty much, there's this guy named Jaden, who I mentioned earlier, and I put on a Google slide in one of our math classes, because we had to like a get to know you thing, and I was like, I haven't been experimenting with guitar and banjo, and he came up to me, and I sort of knew him. We did theater together. He was like, hey man, I play guitar, let's jam sometime. And I was like, who is this guy, you know, coming up to me and trying to, and then the next day he came to my house and we wrote a song together, and I was like, wow, this is pretty magical. So every Friday for a while we just sort of went and tried to make songs and jam, and just to see how we would make music together. And then we got Vinny along in December. Well, we had a session with him in May, but he played too loud, so we didn't invite him again, even though, you know, we should have told him to turn down.
No one told me to turn down. I never played in a band environment, so I had no idea what like bass being too loud was.
Mm-hmm.
But I was told I was overpowering.
We felt bad about it.
But they brought me back, and I remember the exact day of my first gig. I think it was the 17th. It would have been December 17th.
It might have been the 18th.
Are you sure?
It was at the car show thing.
Yeah, I thought it was the 17th because I remember I had to miss Spider-Man No Way Home to go to it, and Jaden had already seen it.
It might have been the 17th.
And I was like, me and him had a whole conversation about it. He was trying not to spoil the movie, but he was so excited about it.
Mm.
And it's like a very special date for me because it changed my life really. I mean, any more than like the movie would have. I mean, look, at the time I was like, I can't believe I have to play the show, but now I'm like, you know, Oakdale Drive is special, and so like I've been doing this for nearly 5 years, which is kind of crazy. You've been doing it for probably
6 years.
Yeah.
No. Well, I
you're
started
closer
2021 is
You're
5.
closer to 5 years than
Yeah.
I am. I'm saying your anniversary is coming up a lot sooner. Do you feel like you've been doing this for 5 years?
I feel like I've been doing it for 17 years. That's what I feel like.
All right. So like, what kind of places do you guys like to gig at?
So last summer we played 7 or 8 shows around here. We hadn't played live in a while, and we wanted to get out of the studio because I have a studio in my attic. So we play around Greenville. Alley Cat Records have been really nice to us. Jeff Blender, he's gotten us a lot of gigs, and he's just supported us throughout the years. We played at this place in Surf City, which is near the beach, called the Trailer Bar.
Mm-hmm.
And when we got there, all of our equipment failed. Every single thing we had failed. Our vocals, no one could hear us. We had to plug our only vocal mic into a bass amplifier for anyone to hear us. And there was this drunk guy. Do you remember the drunk guy that was shouting like, "Play Bruce Springsteen"? And
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I also remember that, you know, despite the shortcomings, that was a very successful show in my opinion.
We made a lot of money.
We made a lot of money. We played some originals. We played some covers, and I mean, there have been a few times in my career. I don't know if the career is a funny word.
That is a funny
There's been a
word.
few times in my career playing music where, you know, we've gotten like people to sing along, but we did get an entire trailer of people to sing Wagon Wheel.
And fooled around and fell in love. There were people slow dancing to that one. That's Elvin Bishop's
Yeah,
song.
so that was, I'm actually really proud of that. I'm glad he brought it up because I kind of forgot about it. But that was a crazy show because that was perseverance coming through when our backs were against the wall and everything started to fall apart. And we still managed to put together something that people were excited to be there.
Thank God for Vinny, because he was the one that suggested we plug the mic into the bass amp so people could hear us. And you really sort of saved the show there.
Yeah, I don't even remember doing that.
It was so hot
That
too.
show
It was crazy.
That show was both incredibly traumatic and stressful, but also it was a hallmark because, I mean, there are shows that like go like a little bit wrong. It's like, oh, we didn't play as well to do it, but that was a near catastrophe. So it's something
I think it's something that you should always pay attention to, try to learn from. Which is why it's kind of embarrassing that I forgot so much about it. I should try to keep that show in mind more, because that's, you know, those are the moments that you look back on to really define who you are as an artist. You know, it's when things are really difficult and you have to find a way out. I think that's the most important parts of this entire job, career.
Would you say that might have been your worst gig that you've played for?
Oh
Like,
no,
What do you think
far from the worst
What do you
gig.
think the worst gig was?
So, we played a lot of terrible gigs.
I forgot so many of the bad ones.
So yeah, any one of them in the beginning was awful. We didn't memorize the lyrics or the chords to most of our songs, or even covers. So we had them printed out. And then one time we played a Christmas show in front of my yard, and it started to rain, and we had a whole lighting setup. This
Oh
was
my
before
gosh,
Benny's
yeah.
time. So we had to move the whole thing into the garage, and all of our lyrics fell, and the wind blew them away, and there was like 8 people there, and someone burned the hot chocolate as well. So that was a terrible gig.
There's actually, this is the first time this news has ever been broke. There's still lyrics to AC/DC's "Highway to Hell" taped to the bass drum.
No, it's Long Way to the Top. If you
Oh,
wanna
it's a
rock
long
and
way
roll.
to the top. You want to rock and roll? I thought it was
Yeah.
"Highway to Hell" because I saw that YouTube video.
No, TNT. TNT is TNT.
Yeah, I saw a
yeah.
YouTube video of us playing TNT. I would say when I think of like worst shows, and I don't remember why this show was bad, but I'll never forget when we did those 2 shows back to back. And the first one was at Alley Cat.
Oh, that was terrible.
The first one was
It
at
so
Alley Cat,
bad.
and we were so like, we weren't like ashamed, but we were like, that just wasn't good.
Well,
and then
we
the
were
day
riding.
after,
Yeah.
we did another show. I can't remember where, but it was
Halloween.
amazing.
Well, we were riding on a high. We just released a single, and we played at a farm, and people really liked us at the farm. So we were like, we can do anything. And then we went to Alley Cat, and we can do nothing. You know.
I don't even
afterwards.
remember what went wrong. I don't remember us necessarily like messing everything up. There
I
was
couldn't
just-
hear anything and couldn't see my guitar.
It was
I
just
blind.
the vibes were
Yeah.
off, but
That was
I
terrible.
I'll always remember that because that was like a redemption story for me. Because was Halloween really the day after that?
Yeah.
The Halloween show that he's talking about is a friend's house party. Is my favorite show that we've ever done. That is my all-time favorite Oakdale Drive show. There's like we have like a picture in the studio of the 4 of us at that show. You know, the one that's like split 4
Yeah.
ways.
We got a painting done.
And
with that.
so that's crazy to think that probably my least favorite show we've ever done was the night before my favorite show. So I'll never forget that because, you know, talk about a comeback, man.
Yeah. So one day comeback.
I
Yeah,
know.
it's crazy.
It really is. I think people underestimate just how much you can just have an off day. I mean, it's just a 1-day difference. It's not like we got infinitely better in 24 hours. It's just, you know, the next day everything fell into place.
Absolutely. That kind of leads me well into my next question, which is like, what do you think was your best show then?
Well, I know mine. I
You already
talked about
answered,
it.
yeah.
You already answered your best gig. What do you think?
You know, you're gonna disagree with me entirely, but I think one of our best shows was we did this show. It was our album release show. It was once again in my yard, but we actually sounded good, and we had our old member come back,
Yeah.
and we performed pretty much all of the songs from our first album for the first time to a crowd, where we gave them a CD of the album. And it was really special for me. And then we had piano and a bunch of instruments, and we got a good applause and good likes from it. So that was a really good show to me. But I think another one of our best shows was at this place called the Mulberry House in Washington. We played for 3 hours straight, and we got a lot of money too, which was nice. But we had so many songs and originals and different genres represented. We had a keyboard player named Andrew, and he played a lot of jazz and stuff like that. And we had a whole section where him and Anders, which is a saxophone player, they had a jam that's 2 of them, and then we all came back on stage and did Vinny's song "Hilton Rooftop in Rome," and I was like, wow, we really come full circle, you know.
And it was cool because that show, the Mulberry House, was on a rooftop. We were on like the 4th floor of like this like building.
Bar.
Was it
Yeah.
all a bar?
It was a restaurant.
It was
and
like the
bar.
3rd floor. It wasn't.
Yeah.
We weren't that high, but it was cool because it was just we were overlooking like a lake?
riverfront.
There's like a river
Yeah, it was
that's just like
Washington.
this water and just the way that like the moon was hitting it. You could see like streetlights below. It was just a very cool vibe. I want to go back to the album release show because that is a very great show. I have like 3 things that I remember about it. One, we did it 6 months before the album came out.
Yeah.
So it was like, that's why he was like album release show. It's like the album didn't release, but you know, 2,
I scraped my back at the end of it because I was like sliding down a wall, and there was something on the wall. Luckily, I didn't like get anything, but I was like, man, I'm gonna get tetanus now.
And there's video of you scraping your back.
There is video of me doing
against
it.
the
I'm
wall.
not gonna tell people where to find it, but it exists. If you look, you'll find it. It's like the last split second of the video. And then the third thing is. That's the only time we've ever played as like a traditional 4-piece, like with like 2 guitars.
Yeah.
And we've pursued that, not like aggressively, but we've taken a couple endeavors to maybe introduce a second guitar into the band, and it never quite we never quite found a fit. But I think now with Anders on saxophone, we've kind of been able to bridge the gap. You know, I just feel like we needed like more melody, like just something to play more parts. But I'm kind of satisfied with what we got going on right now.
Cool. So what kind of original songs do you like to play, and like what kind of are the songs like, and also like what kind of covers do you guys like to play?
Originals is a funny thing. We just released a new album in January called The Skylight Inn, and it was a couple songs we recorded at different periods. But one song we really like to play from it is called Long Rides, and I think just what originals we like to play, I think it has to do a lot with the lyrics and how well it can relate to an audience. Long Rides, for instance, that's just about, it's a very simple, meaning. It's taking long rides and finding the joy in that, which I always like to play and see what an audience reacts with. But I think a lot of songs from the album Vinny was leading on called Travel to Eternity, they've really translated well live. One of the songs is Best Laid Plans. Do you want to tell them about when we did that? Do you remember that? At the Sawyer's Fun Park. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, was that the first time we ever?
It's the first time we ever played that. Yeah.
Travel to Eternity was an interesting album because I had never written music like that before. I had written one song for the band and it was an instrumental, and it's just because I was never really great at like coming up with lyrics. And then one night at like 3 a.m. I come up with like 8 songs, and I text them. I'm like, okay, we can make this to an album, or I could do it as like a solo project. You can help me out, but like I got to do something with this. And so those 8 songs became like the foundation of the album. We put together like 12 in total. He brought a few, and then we did a few together. And then we thought we knew what the album was. And then probably about a month and a half, maybe 2-3 months into the album's process, after it had already been written, I just spontaneously came up with another song. And like I said, we had already kind of solidified our idea of what this album was. And so we didn't take the song very seriously. I mean, we thought it was good, but we played it at Sawyer's Fun Park just because we thought it was like a fun song. And people like loved it.
They sang along to it at the end, which was no one has ever done that before.
First time.
Yeah.
And we were trying to come up with what the singles for the album were. We had already decided it was a 13-song album, and we decided the first 4 singles what they were going to be. And then we said the 5th one, we're gonna release it after the album. We're gonna see which one people like, and then we're gonna, just pick a song from that and make it the 5th single. But the 5th single ended up being a song that was never intended to be on the album in the first place. As soon as we got done with that, we were like, not only is Best Laid Plans about to be added to this album, this is probably the 5th single, because,
It was the 3rd.
Well, I mean, like, as in, like, because we already had 4 decided. I don't mean, like,
okay.
the order of release.
I thought you were talking about the order. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, we already had 4 decided. But it's definitely like a life gives you lemons situation. It's like sometimes when something good that people like presents itself so like openly to you, it's not something that happens every day. So you shouldn't look a gift horse in the mouth.
I've never heard that phrase.
Have you heard that before?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Have you heard that phrase?
I've never used that before, so I hope I said that right. But yeah, you really should take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you, even if it overturns the plans that you had had. It's like sometimes it's better to just go with the flow and let things happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where the magic is.
Yeah. So do you guys get a lot of inspiration for your music from like your personal lives, stuff like that, or is it just like when you said you had like that spontaneous burst of like creativity, like do you think that came from anywhere, or is it just kind of?
It could have come from somewhere subconsciously. I'm not writing that off, and so that's not a no. Because I had a lot going on at the time. The way I write music then is different than the way I write music now. I'm going to be kind of candid about this. When I was in high school and I wrote Travel to Eternity, I was very selective about what I put into the album. I mean, I'm not a particularly like edgy person,
but I am, you know, I deal with things. There are like certain like struggles that are a little bit too real to put into my high school album that I want my teachers to listen to. So, you know, some of it was just kind of like toned down, but I wanted to create something that was at least like emotionally real enough that people could connect to it. But I didn't want to create something that was gonna like make people like psychoanalyze me. And now I'm different because like I'm out of school, so it's like I'm just gonna tell people how I feel. I mean, there are songs from there are aspects of Image of Paradise that I kind of pulled from just like feelings of despair. So before I was kind of walking a tightrope of I want this to feel real, but I don't want to. I was a little afraid to when I was in high school and I knew my classmates would hear this and I knew my teachers would hear this. I didn't want anyone to like. I don't want to be too sincere, because sometimes sincerity is a little bit like looked down upon when you're younger. I think once you get to like once you're in college, people stop caring. People become a lot more mature. But in high school, people might, you know, they might take that the wrong way.
Yeah, for me, I'll use an example. There's a song on the first album we did called Sticks, and it was one of the most basic songs of all time, because I was literally picking up sticks in my yard like 30 minutes beforehand. And then I sat down with a guitar, and the first thing I wrote was, yes, I'm picking up sticks, you know? So I would say I find inspiration from almost anything. I'll hear like a phrase in one of my classes about some ancient text, and I'll use that and just write. It just all flows out instantly to me. Yeah, but I could see a rock on the side of the road and write a whole song about it, you know? So.
Yeah, we both write down like random phrases that we just find in the everyday world.
Where are you guys playing in the future? You have any like gigs planned right now?
Well, so I think we're trying to transition more to a studio environment, because we want to focus on finding that sound for us. And I go to school for audio production, so I just want to implement a lot of the things I learned in a studio environment. And we did the thing last summer, and it was really nice and fun, but it's sort of hard to, you know, book venues and all that stuff, and I got a little tired of it because I got to do that most of the time. So, I mean, if there's anybody out there that'd like to have us, we'll be open. But I think the studio is where we lie for the majority of our future for now.
Yeah, we had a conversation. Well, because we're all going. I mean, I don't mean this to be as like definitive as it's going to sound, but we're all kind of going in different directions. Not far away from the band, but like geographically, our saxophone player is in Greensboro.
I'm in Asheville.
You're in Asheville.
Yeah.
I'm moving to Richmond, Virginia this year, which, as far as I know, is actually closer to here than either of those two places, which is the irony. But so we had a whole conversation a few months ago, and we decided upon something that we sort of nicknamed 90-10, just to remember it, which is 90% studio and 10% live, because at least for the time being, you know, something could change in a few years, but it's just not really practical for us to play live on the level that we used to back when we like had a bunch of free time in high school. At the same time, Oakdale Drive means a lot to us, and we have a lot of, you know, fun in the studio. So, you know, when we have free time, we get together and we write music, and we're always open to playing live. It's just all just about like opportunity and timing.
Yeah, we're not like actively pursuing the live aspects.
Right.
Yeah.
I got you. So you're mostly like working on studio stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I guess on that note, then, are there anything you want to plug right now? Social media, albums, anything?
Yeah,
like that?
our new album, The Skylight Inn, as I mentioned earlier, is released in January. You can listen to it anywhere. You can listen to it on airplanes, which I'm pretty proud of.
Good saying that.
But yeah, we're constantly working on new music, and yeah, we just recorded a new album in January, which is different from The Skylight Inn. But yeah, we also released a music video in January of the song Lawn Rides. It was filmed in Winston-Salem in November last year. So if y'all want to check that out, we have YouTube, and email us with any questions or anything like that. It'd be cool. So.
I don't have anything. I just want to say, because that reminds me, I think we are a lot more ahead of like our own curve than I think people realize. We just recorded an album in January, and then in that same month, we released The Skylight Inn.
Yeah.
We were talking about the album release show that we did in December 2023?
22.
That was 22.
Yeah.
Okay, well, oh no, I'm thinking of when the actual album released. Yeah,
Oh,
when that
okay.
first album released by June of 2023, we had already like written like most of the follow up. We're usually the albums take so long to like to not to write necessarily, but
Materialize.
to produce
Yeah.
that by the time the public have access to an Oakdale Drive album, we're probably like 75% done with the next one.
Yeah, we plan
Or in
our
this
stuff
case,
years in advance. So
In this case, 100% done. We
Yeah.
finished the follow up the month that we dropped it.
yeah.
Nice. And so, where can people find your music? Like, where all the places?
Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, anything like that, YouTube. Yeah, just look us up. We'll probably be there. So.
Yeah, I mean, anywhere you can find music.
And if anyone wants a vinyl, they can email us and we can make it for them. It's not cheap, but it has been done before. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we have sold one record.
We sold one record.
Which is really surreal to say, but the guy came up to us after our most recent live show.
Yeah, at Alley Cat.
And he was like, we told him the price, and he was like, yeah, I'll pay it. I was like, we sold a record, a physical.
Nice.
That's not everyone can say that. That's
Check that off the bucket list.
I know.